All right. Good afternoon, everyone. All right. Today we're going to learn about Daniel. Do you guys know about Daniel already?
Yes.
I'm sure you know the main stories of Daniel and the lion's den and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. But today we're going to learn about Daniel and his interpretation of King Nebuchadnezzar's dream. So, Daniel 2. Tucker's got it. So if you guys want to open up to Daniel 2, that's where we're going to be today. And if you guys can remember, 2 weeks ago, we learned about the northern and the southern kingdom separating into two. And then the two kingdoms got a dose of their own medicine because they were sinning against God. And then God took their kingdoms away from them and took Israel away from them. And we learned that the southern kingdom was sent into exile by Babylon and King Nebuchadnezzar. And that included Daniel and Daniel's three friends, who will soon be known as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So we're going to pick up with them in Babylon. So they've been exiled out of Israel. They're now in Babylon. And we have them now going, and they are there. Even though Daniel was only 15 when he was sent away in exile, he worked his way up into the ranks and into the king's good graces. So he's actually a part of what were called the wise men of the king, and he was part of the king's council. So we are going to open up into Daniel, and we're going to start reading in Daniel 2. We're going to read the first 16 verses, and then we'll talk a little bit. So in the second year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuchadnezzar had dreams, his spirit was troubled, and his sleep left him. Then the king commanded that the magicians, the enchanters, the sorcerers, and the Chaldeans be summoned to tell the king his dream. So they came in and stood before the king. And the king said to them, "I had a dream, and my spirit is troubled to know the dream." Then the Chaldean said to the king in Aramaic, "O king, live forever. Tell your servants the dream, and we will show the interpretation." The king answered and said to the Chaldeans, "The word from me is firm. If you do not make known to me the dream and its interpretation, you shall be torn limb from limb, and your houses shall be laid in ruins. But if you show the dream and its interpretation, you shall receive from me gifts and rewards and great honor. Therefore, show me the dream and its interpretation." They answered a second time and said, "Let the king tell his servant the dream, and we will show you its interpretation." The king answered and said, "I know with certainty that you are trying to gain time, because you see that the word from me is firm. If you do not make the dream known to me, there is but one sentence for you. You have agreed to speak lying and corrupt words before me till the time changes. Therefore, tell me the dream, and I shall know that you can show me its interpretation." The Chaldeans answered the king and said, "There is not a man on earth who can meet the king's demand, for no great and powerful king has asked such a thing of any magician, enchanter, or Chaldean. The thing that the king asks is difficult, and no one can show it to the king except the gods, whose dwelling is not with the flesh." Because of this, the king was very angry and furious, and commanded that all the wise men of Babylon be destroyed. So the decree went out, and the wise men were about to be killed, and they sought Daniel and his companions to kill them. Then Daniel replied with prudence and discretion to Arioch, the captain of the king's guard, who had gone out to kill the wise men of Babylon. He declared to Arioch, the king's captain, Why is the decree of the king so urgent?" Then Arioch made the matter known to Daniel, and Daniel went in and requested the king to appoint him a time that he might show the interpretation to the king. So, the king had a dream. It terrified him. Whatever this dream was made him very scared. And he said, "All right, I want someone to tell me what this dream was about." But not by telling them the dream first. He wanted them to tell them what they dreamed. So have you guys ever had dreams before? Have you ever had a dream and then woke up and then forgot what your dream was about?
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened to the king. And then he said, "All right, tell me what my dream was about." Would you be able to tell someone else what their dream was about? No, I couldn't either. because usually your dreams are just in your head, unless you were sleepwalking or something else. Your dreams are in your own head. So God's the only person besides, if you remember your dreams, that can know your dreams. And that's exactly what these people say. They said, hey, we can't possibly know your dreams. We can't know what's inside your own head. If you tell us what your dream is, we can try to tell you what it's about. But he had no idea what his dream was about. So he wanted them to say, not only tell him what his dream was about, but then to interpret it and tell him what it means. So he gets angry with them. He says, hey, if you guys can't tell me what my dream was, then I'm just going to kill all of you guys, because you guys are supposed to be the wise men and my wise counsel, and you guys aren't very wise right now. You guys aren't even able to tell me my own dream. So then Daniel was a part of this wise council, and Daniel says, hey, give me a chance. Let me go meet with the king, and I will be able to help the king interpret his dream. So our first point is going to be that we need to see the weakness of man. These people were supposed to be the earthly council of King Nebuchadnezzar. They were supposed to be these wise men who were able to give them interpretations and understanding of dreams, but they were really doing this all on their own. They didn't actually know any of these things. They were just using trickery and falsehoods. They were just making stuff up and telling the king what he wanted to hear. And it finally caught up with them. The king finally gave them a challenge that was too tough for them. They couldn't lie their way out of this one. So it was going to lead to their death. But we see here, they say in Daniel 2:11, the thing that the king asks is difficult, and no one can show it to the king except for the gods whose dwelling is not with the flesh. So we see that the wisdom of man is foolish, but God is able to do something that's even more great and more powerful that any man could do. And in 1 Corinthians 1:20 it says, where is one who is wise? Where is the scribe? Where is the debater of this age? Has not God made foolish the wisdom of this world? And we know that we can't do anything apart from God. When we try to do things on our own and try to use our own wisdom, it never ends up well. We've seen this time and time again throughout the Old Testament, that they try to do things with their own power and their own strength, and every single time they fail. When they try to make idols or other gods that they try to worship to, it always ends up pointless, because if you pray to something that doesn't actually have any power, there's no point in doing that, because that God's not going to help you. So we see, however, that Daniel's going to get his strength from somewhere much greater. So we'll pick back up in verse 17 in 2 Daniel. And it says, then Daniel went to his house, and he made a matter known to Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. This is Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego. Those were their names before their names were changed. And he told them to seek mercy from God of heaven concerning the mystery, so that Daniel and his companions might not be destroyed with the rest of the wise men of Babylon. Then the mystery was revealed to Daniel in a vision of the night. Then Daniel blessed the God of heaven. So here we have Daniel telling him and his friends, hey, we're going to pray to God. We're going to ask him to reveal the king's dream to us so that he doesn't kill us all. And that's exactly what we see. God reveals the king's dream to Daniel, and then Daniel's going to now answer and praise God for that. It says, blessed be the name of God forever and ever, to whom belong wisdom and might. He changes times and seasons. He removes kings and sets up kings. He gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to those who have understanding. He reveals deep and hidden things. He knows what is in the darkness, and the light dwells within him. To you, O God, my fathers, I give thanks and praise, for you have given me wisdom and might, and have now made known what we asked you. For you have made known to us the king's matter. Therefore Daniel went to Arioch, whom the king had appointed to destroy the wise men of Babylon. He went and said to him thus, do not destroy the wise men of Babylon. Bring me in before the king, and I will show the king the interpretation. Then Arioch brought Daniel before the king in haste and said to him, I have found among the exiles of Judah a man who will make known the king's interpretation. The king declared to Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, are you able to make known to me the dream that I have seen and its interpretation? Daniel answered the king and said, no wise men, enchanters, magicians, or astrologers can show to the king the mystery that the king has asked. But there is a God in heaven who reveals mysteries, and he has made known to King Nebuchadnezzar what will be in the later days. Your dream and the visions you had as you lay in bed are these. To you, O king, as you lay in bed, came thoughts of what would be after this, and the who reveals and has been revealed to me, not because of any wisdom, but I have more than I not because of any wisdom that I have more than any of the living, but in order that the interpretation may be known to the king, and that you may be known the thoughts of your mind. So Daniel prays to God. God reveals that the dream of Nebuchadnezzar to him, and now Daniel comes before the king and says, hey, I know your dream. I know exactly what had been revealed to you, and the only reason I know it is because there is a God who revealed that to me. So here, Daniel is praising God and showing King Nebuchadnezzar that there is a king, or there is a God who, apart from all the people who were unable to follow this and unable to reveal the dream, there is a God who is able to do that. There is a God who has that power. So we see here that Daniel doesn't get his power from himself. He got his power from God. He was able to do this mysterious thing and get this dream only because he prayed to God and asked for him to help. So now we're going to read about what the dream was actually about. The dream was a vision of what was going to come of Babylon. So it was going to be a dream of what was going to happen in the future. God was going to reveal what was going to happen in the coming times. And it wasn't going to be like what's going to happen tomorrow. It was going to be what's going to happen in the years and years to come. So we'll read kind of the dream in two parts. It's going to be the dream first, and then there's going to be an interpretation of the dream. So first we'll go through the dream, and then we'll go through what that dream meant and what we can even look back and see how God actually revealed all of that truth. What? In Second Daniel, we're at verse 31.
Okay.
You found it?
Yeah.
All right. You saw, O king, and behold, a great image. This image, mighty and of exceeding brightness, stood before you, and its appearance was frightening. And the head of this image was of fine gold. So it was this image of a person before him. The head was made out of gold. Its chest and its arms made out of silver, its middle and its thighs, so its stomach and its thighs made out of bronze, its legs were made out of iron, and its feet were partly made out of iron and partly of clay. As you looked, a stone was cut out by no human hand, and it struck the image on its feet of iron and clay and broke them into pieces. Then the iron, the clay, the bronze, the silver, and the gold all together were broken in pieces and became like a chaff of the summer threshing floors. And the wind carried them away so that not a trace of them could be found. But the stone that struck the images became a great mountain and filled the whole earth. So you got this image of, seems like a person with a head of gold. We've got silver, we've got bronze, we've got iron, and then some feet made out of iron and clay. So that's why the king was very much confused. He's like, what does this image of all these different metals mean to me? And now we're going to learn from Daniel through God what that means to him, and then what that means to us now as well. So this was the dream. Now we will tell the king's interpretation. You, O king, are the king of kings, to whom the God of heavens was given the kingdom, the power and the might and the glory, and into who had been given whether they dwell, the children of man, the beasts of the fields, and the birds of the heaven, making you ruler over all of them. You are the head of gold. So the head of gold represented King Nebuchadnezzar being king over Babylon. He was the golden head. He had dominion over all of this land. So King Nebuchadnezzar is the golden head in this image. So now we're going to move on. And another kingdom inferior to you, so that means another kingdom that's going to be weaker than them, shall arise after you, and yet a third kingdom of bronze, which shall rule over the earth. And there shall be a fourth kingdom strong as iron, because iron breaks all these. And as you saw, the feet and toes, partly of a potter's clay and partly of iron, It shall be a divided kingdom, but some of the firmness of iron shall be in it, just as you saw iron mixed with soft clay. And as the toes of the feet were partly iron and partly clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly brittle. So we got these different descriptions of different kingdoms by different metals. So we got the gold head, which is Nebuchadnezzar ruling over Babylon. Then we have the silver chest and arms, and that's going to be a kingdom that's actually going to overtake Babylon in the future. It's going to be the Medo-Persian Empire. And then if we look back in history, this empire did overtake Babylon. They ruled for about 208 years. Then we have the middle and the thighs of bronze. This was Alexander the Great. He was the leader of a Greek empire. He's going to overtake the Medo-Persian Empire. And then the iron legs, so we have the iron, that's going to be the Roman Empire. If you guys know anything about the Roman Empire, they were a very, very strong empire. They had a ton of armies and they had a ton of strength, and that's why they're depicted here as iron, because they were so powerful and they could break and crush all of the other metals and all of the other kingdoms that had come before. And then we see at the very end the toes of clay and iron. So this is going to be a divided kingdom. This is a kingdom that's actually the Roman Empire in the future, not even now, but in the future from us too. It's going to be an empire that's divided, that's not strong. If you have iron by itself, iron is a very strong metal. But if you have iron and clay mixed together, those things don't actually mesh into one, so they're going to be divided. Part of it's going to be brittle, part of it's going to be strong. And we'll read further both in Daniel 7 and in Revelation. It talks about there being a Roman Empire with 10 different nations. So God is telling us here that in the future, before his second coming, there's going to be this Roman Empire that he is going to come back and actually destroy. That's why the toes are going to be brittle and shatter, and he's actually going to destroy all of the earthly kingdoms, because as we see, that stone, that's Christ's second coming. So we have this stone come down, crush the image. That is Christ coming back. He's going to destroy all of the earthly things. And then we see that stone arise to a great mountain. And that's representing that God's kingdom is going to come and be developed here on earth. He's going to form a new heaven and a new earth. So our second point is going to be that we need to trust that God is sovereign. Does anyone know what sovereign means? What do you got? So it means that he is going to be in absolute control of all things. Being sovereign means that he's going to be in control of all things at all times and all places. So he is going to be in control of everything. And God gave Nebuchadnezzar this dream to reveal this to him. He wanted King Nebuchadnezzar to see that he was going to be in control of everything, that Nebuchadnezzar could do all he wanted here on earth. Even if he didn't follow God, he could try to live his own way, but overall, he was never going to have a kingdom forever. God was in control of him being king. God was in control of all the kings yet to come. Even today, this is still true for us today. We know that God is in control of us today. God is in control of what happens in the future. So you can go out and do whatever you would like, but God is still going to be in control of what happens in the future and when he comes back. So we need to know that. We need to trust that God is in control of everything, that we need to have faith. He has promised us very good things in the future if we put our trust in him, and we need to trust that he's going to have control over that there's nothing that can take away from God's plans, because he is ultimately the one who decides what happens. So in John 18:36, Jesus answered and says, "My kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, my servants would have been fighting, that I might not be delivered over to the Jews, but my kingdom is not of this world." So here, Jesus is saying his kingdom isn't an earthly kingdom. God's not going to come back and just be a important king or rule over everyone here. He's going to come back. He's going to destroy everything. He's going to raise up everyone who has put their faith in him. And we are going to have a future with a new heaven and a new earth. And that's what we see in Revelation too, that he's going to form a new heaven, a new earth, that this earth is going to pass away, and then he's going to create this holy city for us. And throughout the Old Testament and New Testament, we have seen this promise that he's going to establish his kingdom. So we must now live knowing that he could come back at any second. Just like that stone coming down and destroying all of the other kingdoms, God can come back and take everyone out at any point. So we have to live each and every day knowing that truth, that tomorrow on our way home, even a month from now, God could come back, and that could be when he establishes his kingdom. So if we choose, well, I'm just going to follow God in the future. I'm just going to live however I want now, and then I'll follow God in the future. That's not going to be good for us, because if God comes back tomorrow and we were planning on 2 months from now following God, then it's too late for us. So that's why it's so important that we live every day for God, that it's not just, eventually I'll follow God once I'm older. It's now. Like, now is the time to follow God, because we aren't promised any time. We aren't promised that we'll have, our entire life here. We hope that, in the time that we do have here, we live for God. We go out and make disciples. We go out and spread the good news, and we run the race well, so that someday when we get to heaven, he will say, "Well done, good and faithful servant." But until then, we need to be putting our trust in God and not living for ourselves. And that's our third and final point, is that we need to live with hope for Christ's return. So Christ has said many times throughout the Bible that he is coming back. This is not something that we just think might happen. He has promised us that he is going to come back. He rose from the dead, and now he's going to be coming back. So we need to live for that. We need to live and know that, hey, we have a God who's coming back. We need to show him that we are going to live every day for him. We're going to teach other people. We want to save the people who are lost. Just like Jesus came to earth to save the sinners, that's what he wants from us. He wants us to go out and spread the good news so that we can also save people. Do you have a question?
Is there location where Jesus and Satan?
Oh. Yeah, Jesus is going to come back through Jerusalem. So he does say that he will come back through. Yep. So we do know that's been revealed, that he will come back, and Jerusalem's still going to be an important part of the picture. So we started out in the story. It was a story that started out with Daniel was potentially going to be killed because...
Hey kiddos, let's stop folding papers. Okay, I know a lot of you are having fun folding papers. Let's wait until the end of the lesson, so let's listen. Mr. Tafoya is going to close up our lesson, so let's have our quiet hands and listen to the end, okay?
So we started out with Daniel being possibly going to be killed because the king wanted to know his dream. And then now at the very end, in the final verses of Daniel, we actually see now that he revealed the king's dream, he was able to, through the power of God, tell the king's dream and its interpretation. He is going to actually be given a higher position to the king's council, and that's something we'll see throughout Daniel too, that's an important piece in God's plan, was that what started out looking like a tragedy ends up being this place of honor, where Daniel was even able to glorify God to Nebuchadnezzar, and that's the start of him spreading the gospel to King Nebuchadnezzar too. He was able to show, hey, you don't believe in God, but there is a powerful God who has the ability to interpret your dream and has the ability to save you. That's much more powerful than any human hand, any army that you might have. We have a God who is more powerful. And that's how we need to be too. We need to be showing other people who may not believe in God that we have a powerful God and a God that is holy, and a God that's worth praising, because he came and died for each and every one of us. So with that, we'll end in prayer, and then you guys can split up into your groups, okay? God, we just thank you so much for allowing us to come here, allowing us to read from your word, and just see the power that you have displayed here, that you are able to know our every thought. Any thought and anything that goes into our minds, you already know. So we just thank you, God. We just pray that we would live each and every day knowing this truth, knowing that you are a God who is sovereign. You are a God who rules over everything, who rules over all of the earthly kings, who rules over every living thing on this earth. And at some point, you are going to come back, Jesus is going to come back a second time. He is going to come call all of the followers and all of the believers up to heaven, that you are going to establish your new kingdom. So I just thank you, God, that we have the ability to know about this, that back in Daniel's time, you revealed these truths to them, but they didn't know about Jesus like we do today. They didn't know that they knew that there would be a Savior coming, but they didn't know what that was going to be, whether that was going to be an earthly king or what that would look like. But we know you sent your Son to live for us, to die for us. And I just pray each and every one of us would put our trust in you, that we would all have faith that believes in you, believes in your truth, that each and every day we would live telling people about you, that we would live honoring your word, so that whenever you do come back, Lord, we will be ready. We will be ready for your return. We will be ready to be in heaven with you. We won't put things off and put off following you for another time, but instead we will live today for you, God. So I pray for each and every heart here that we would all just believe in this truth, that we would all find salvation in you by believing in you, trusting in you. And I pray this all through your Son's name. Amen.